Okay, we want to finish up section 6.5, which is our last section. My directions for these again are to factor completely. They don't give us any hints this time, so we have to start from scratch. My first problem, 6a squared plus a minus 2. I recognize that it does not have a GCF. I see it starts with a 6, so that tells me that it's a hard trinomial. My choices for 6 are 6 and 1 and 3 and 2, and my choices for 2 are 2 and 1. I have to decide which factors to use for the 6. My factors of 6 that I might try are 6 and 1 and 3 and 2, and then of course I have my factors of 2, which are 2 and 1. When I decide which ones to use, I like to take the bigger number from each pair and multiply them together. So I start by saying 6 times 2 is 12. That's a little big, because remember I'm trying to get a 1a in the middle. So then I'll try 3 times 2. Well, 3 times 2 is 6. That's still not close, but it's closer than our first one was. So when we get ready to work this one, we're going to try 3a times 2a, and those go on the front because 3 times 2 would give me 6 on the front. On the back, I'm going to try 2 and 1. Remember a rule I told you earlier? You can't put the 2's together because they'd have something in common in parentheses, and you can't have anything in common in parentheses. So if you're looking for a 2 and a 1, that means the 2 would have to go here and the 1 in the back. Now I don't know if this combination worked or not. We have to try it. So I'm going to make my outside rainbow, which gives me a 3a. I'm going to make my inside rainbow, which gives me a 4a. And 4a and 3a would give me a positive 1a if the 4 was positive and the 3 was negative. Well, there's not a 4 in the problem, so what makes up the 4 was 2 times 2. And so since this 2 in the front has an opening for a sign, I'm going to put my plus there to make that a positive 4. And 3a times 1, that's going to be a negative 3. And so that's why I put the negative with the 1, because it went with the 3. Your second problem is x cubed plus 3x squared minus 25x minus 75. And this one is one we group. Grouping came from section 6.1, so if you need more practice with that, you can go back there. I'm going to work it the easy way this time. So here's an easy spin on grouping I might not have shown you earlier. I know that I'm going to group the first two and the last two. In the first two, what they have in common is an x, and the smallest one is 2, so we can take out an x squared. And when we do that, it leaves me with x plus 3. But let's talk about grouping for a second. In order to do grouping, if you have an x plus 3 in the front, you have to have an x plus 3 in the back. That's what the rule says. So I have to have an x plus 3 in the back. Now, that's my cheat sheet way of doing it, my skipping steps way. Looking at the back group, I recognize that 25 and 75 both contain a 25. And remember my rule tells me to take out my third sign. So now then, I've gotten the grouping part done. What I have to do at this point is see what they have in common. They both have an x plus 3, so I take an x plus 3 out of them, and that leaves me with x squared minus 25. Looking back at your steps that you had at the beginning of this section, section 6.5, we went through all the steps, but step 3 says make sure that it doesn't factor further. What you recognize with this particular one here is that it squares. So this one's actually going to factor one more time. So I'm going to have an x plus 3. The difference of squares would be x and 5, and one's positive and one's negative. And so that's what that particular problem would look like. The last one you have is 2x cubed minus 4x squared minus 126x. I see that they all have an x in common and they're all even, so that means they have a 2 in common. So I'm going to take out a 2x. When I do that, that leaves me with x squared minus 2x minus 63. X squared minus 2x minus 63 is just an easy trinomial. So to work this one out, I'm going to bring down the GCF. The factors of x squared are x times x. My factors of 63 that subtract to give me 2 are 9 times 7, and my signs are different. So 9 and 7 are going to give me a negative 2, and that result will be negative 2 if the 9 is negative and the 7 positive. That's my answer.